Fathers and Sons was written in 1862 by the Russian author Ivan Turgenev. The short novel is about two young men, Arkady and Bazarov, who return home after finishing college. The story describes the newly formed youth's reaction to their more humble life. Both of Arkady's and Bazarov's family are small-time landowners. During this time, Russia was undergoing the emancipation of serfs, rapid westernization, and in particular experiencing a heavy French Enlightenment type influence. Arkady's father is unafraid of these new changes and fancies himself to be of the liberal mindset. Pavel, Arkady's uncle who lives with them, also hails from the liberal caste, but is far more haughty and aristocratic than his brother. Despite their alignment with progressiveness, the older men find the younger men too radical or extreme. Arkady and Bazarov sport a nihilistic, modernistic philosophy fueled by materialism. Arkady's father loves him regardless, but Pavel can't stand this new way of thinking, especially in Bazarov, who serves as Arkady's mentor and influence. Bazarov is handsome, brooding, and firm in his convictions. He's an iconoclast, and by way of the West, ready to reject anything artistic or spiritual. Enchanted only by empirical sciences, Bazarov spends most of his time collecting wildlife samples in order to conduct science experiments. The strife between Pavel and Bazarov will become a crucial element to the plot. Pavel's hidden past reveals a wounded soul who has more in common with Bazarov than meets the eye. Their eventual violent duel becomes an incredible opportunity for reconciliation. When the young men travel to Bazarov's family's estate, the reader finds a big difference between the father and son's personality. Bazarov's father is meek and humble of heart. He lives decently and simply off his land with his faithful wife who retains the Russian Orthodoxy manner of living. Just like Arkady's father, he loves his son unconditionally, even though Bazarov sees him as outdated and unable to keep up with the times. These generational clash of ideas and culture are key themes throughout the novel, reflecting the tumultuous intellectual shift occurring at that time in Russia. These differences also offer meditation on family life, the age-old struggle between tradition and novelty. Intertwined within the story is a romantic struggle between Bazarov and Princess Odintsov, as well as between Arkady and Katya. Odintsov is a relatively young widow who's acquired a country estate and a sizable wealth from her deceased husband. A flirty sensualist, she's experienced plenty of what life has to offer. She's achieved this by her ease of wrapping men around her fingers. She now slowly dissipates in her country estate, experiencing a crushing ennui, amongst other moral pains. Sporting her flagrant beauty and compatibility with Bazarov, he can't help but to fall in love with her. However, as a staunch materialist, Bazarov rejects love as a chemical farce, refusing its impending advancements on his heart. Yet love is not a force to be reckoned or bargained with, causing a stinging cognitive dissonance inside of him. Unable to repress his feelings for her, he declares his love, only to be painfully rejected. The shattered Bazarov double downs on his indifferentism, completely abandoning her and Arkady's friendship. He escapes to work in the countryside as a doctor with his dad, falling prey to an infection from a patient only weeks later. As he lays on his deathbed, he experiences his whole world crash on him. A multitude of ideas and rumination lure over his heavy heart. An Orthodox priest performs his last rites, implying that he converted in the end. He also gets a bittersweet goodbye with Odintsov, offering each other much-needed closure. Only death was able to reconcile Bazarov to the essential principles. Only death was able to bring him out of the poisons of his age, the wicked nihilism from the West. Arkady, on the other hand, was able to escape this grip of cynicism by getting married and starting a family. He began lending a hand to his father on his estate, eschewing the cosmopolitan life for something more pastoral and simple. Turgenev is brilliant at small-scale character studies. Each character had a unique voice that brimmed with vitality. The way in which Turgenev exposes the reader to the character's thoughts, ideas, and actions was captivating and insightful. Lacing the story with beautiful lines and keen observations, he's able to create a rich story with an abundance of poetic moments. I highly recommend this book. It's quickly paced, dramatic, inquisitive, meaningful, and overall was a great joy to read. Here are some of my favorite lines from the story. Is there anything in the world more captivating than a beautiful young mother with a healthy child in her arms? Time, as we all know, sometimes flies like a bird and sometimes crawls like a snail, but man is happiest when he does not even notice whether time is passing quickly or slowly. For context, this is when Bazarov, after returning home, ends up leaving, which gave his parents a lot of grief because they really love him and want to see him more. So, Bazarov's mother, Vasya, says this to her husband. Sorry. Um, Bazarov's mother, Irina, says this to her husband, Vasya. She says, "He can't be helped, Vasya. A son is an independent person. He's like a falcon that comes when he wills and flies off when he lists. But you and I are like the funguses growing in a hollow tree. Here we sit side by side, not budging an inch. It is only I who will stay with you always, faithful forever, just as you will stay with me." Vasily Ivanitch took his hands from his face and clasped his wife, his friend, more warmly than he had ever done before, even in their youth. She had consoled him in his grief. Ever since she had seen grass snakes there, Anna Sergeyevna had not cared to go into the place. But Katya often came and sat on a big stone bench under one of the niches. Here, in the cool shade, she read and did her embroidery, or abandoned herself to that sensation of absolute peace with which we are all probably familiar, and the charm of which lies in a half-conscious, hushed contemplation of the vast current of life that is forever swirling in and around us.